The National High School football qualifiers are taking place between Ichinan High School and Matsuke's High School, with the current score being 0-1. Yoichi Izuji is the one with the ball, contemplating whether to pass or shoot the goal himself. He decides to pass the ball to his teammate Tada, who then failed to make a goal. The other school is having a counter with Ryusuke Kira as the lead player. He manages to score a goal, making the score 0-2, making his team the winner. Tada apologizes to his team for not making the goal. Meanwhile, Kira is being interviewed about how he felt being able to play for Japan's under-18 national team. Kira responds that he's got his sights of winning the nationals with his team and says that the reason for his success was having a capable team he could rely on. Izuji's coach made a closing speech for his team, devastated by the loss. The coach cries while giving his advice to remember the defeat but don't think of it as meaningless but instead to remember it. He then declares that his team is still the best in Japan. While saying this, in Izuji's mind, they are just a team that fell one step short of playing at nationals. After the match, when Izuji is on his way home, he suddenly thinks of Noel Noah and tells himself that he will never be a great hero like him. He then reminisces his childhood days watching Noel Noah play and being inspired by him to play football. He imagined what would have happened if he was the one who kicked the ball, how his fate would have changed. He then says to himself that what-ifs are pointless in football and they didn't lose because he chose for team play and talks that football is a sport played with 11 people. He then shouts and cries because he wanted to win. Izuji arrives home and his mother tells him that he had gotten a letter from the Japan Football Association for a player improvement project. The next day, Izuji arrives at the Japan Football Union building and encounters Kira. Kira tells Izuji that he remembered the other since he was quite a player and had an impressive field perspective and high football IQ. Upon opening the entrance, they saw many players also waiting in the area. A man begins his speech and tells the players that they are chosen based on his criteria alone, and proceeds to introduce himself as Junpachi Ego and his job is to make Japan a team capable of winning the World Cup. He said that he will forge the best striker in the world among the 300 under-18 forwards he chose, and in order for him to achieve that, the Blue Lock facility was created. He then states that all players will live in the building and will strictly follow his regimen and that their careers are over. Ego further emphasizes that if anyone manages to defeat all 299 players and be the one remaining, the last player standing will become the best striker in the world. Shocked by what Ego said, Kira responds that their current teams are their priority and he cannot accept those terms mentioned. All the other players agreed. Ego then responds and asks them if they would rather be a high school champ than becoming the best striker in the world. He then tells the players that he cringes at the look of Japan's future in their hands. Japan may be the best in organizational skills in football, but in everything else, they are second-rate. Ego then asks the players what is football to them, a sport where you try to score goals in teams of 11 players, and proceeds that thinking is wrong. He then tells that football is a sport about scoring goals even at the expense of your teammates. The best player is the one that scores the most goals. Kira responds and tells Ego that what he said was insulting players like Honda, Kagawa, and others that shaped Japan's national lineup, and the value of team play instilled is the same for them. Ego then mocks the mentioned players as the squad that has yet to win a single World Cup. He then mentions Noel Noah, Eric Cantona, and Pelé as revolutionary strikers, but their extraordinary egoism is what Japan lacks. He then plays a scenario wherein the hopes of all Japan lie in their shoulders. He then states that if they want that rebellious egoism, then they should step through the gate. He then says his last message that football is a sport to develop the players as strikers and think of literally everyone as supporting them, and tells them to throw away their common sense because, in football, they are a star. After hearing Ego's words, which made Izuji shivered, he decides to step through the gate. The other players also step through the gate with the hopes of becoming the best striker. Izuji is on a bus on the way to the Blue Lock facility. Upon arriving, they were given uniforms with a number and letter by Anri. Izuji is given the number 299 letter Z. The Z states their respective rooms. Izuji then enters the facility and goes to his respective room. Upon opening, he learned that it is a shared room. Kira calls out Izuji, tells him that he is relieved to see a familiar face. A shirt then hits Izuji's face. Upon removing it, the player apologizes to Izuji and tells him to be careful of stepping. Izuji then finds a sleeping player on the floor. Izuji then changes into his uniform. A player named Girumu Igarashi, a second-year forward, introduces himself to Izuji and Kira. Igarashi then tells them that he was born in a temple and has a promise with his old man to make Igarashi no inherit the temple if he became a pro player. Igarashi reveals that he was pumped up by Igo's speech. After talking, Igo appears at a screen stating that everyone in the room will be each other's roommates and rivals. He then reveals that the number attached is their ranking among the 300 players in the blue lock. Their ranking will change based on several factors like going up and down based on the training or the results of their game, and unconditionally. The top 5 players will participate for Japan's under-20 national team for the World Cup, and those defeated will be permanently barred from the team. He then tells them that they are looking for Igo, and it will be the ones measured in the facility. Igo then announces a game, tag, where the time limit is 136 seconds and whoever is it when the timer runs out will be removed from the team. The first it is the lowest among the team, which is Igarashi. Igo explains that tag is just one of many exercises prop players warm up with and the egoism test that he will provide great insight on selfishness behind the strikers. The timer starts. While Igarashi has the ball, a player talks to him if he really believes what Igo said about Japan's under-20. Igarashi replies that he doesn't know for sure but he'll do it because if he loses, he will come back to the temple and be a monk. Igarashi then decides to target Izuji, which is only one rank higher than him, but Izuji manages to dodge the attack. The other players run away. Kira then voices out that there's no way pros train like this and the reason he entered Blue Lock is to reject Igo's ideology. He then further tells that trying to stake their football careers on a 2-minute play of tag is screwed up and affirms that he cannot let Igo destroy his future. While listening to Kira's thoughts, Izuji thinks about his goal to run away and not to get hit. While failing to hit anyone, Igarashi spots a sleeping guy and decides to change his target. Upon kicking the ball, Girimu was kicked at the face by the player. The player was then approached by another player and tells him that he hates dirty play and to play fair and square. The player, which reveals to be Kunigami, rank 291, was hit by the ball and is now the it. Igarashi uses Izuji to defend himself, resulting in Izuji being hit by the ball. Only 1 minute and 3 seconds left. Izuji became the third it. Izuji then tries to attack but fails to hit anyone. After failing to hit anyone, he decides to attack Igarashi, which is the lowest ranked player. Only 50 seconds left. Izuji still chases Igarashi. Izuji still hasn't hit anyone and tells himself that he doesn't want to end it like this and let his dream end. The player who hit Igarashi calls Izuji's attention while restraining Kunigami, giving Izuji a chance to attack Kunigami while arm locking him. Kunigami throws him, resulting in him hitting Igarashi. After that hit, Igarashi strained his foot and cannot move. Kira then shouts at Izuji and tells him to take the shot. Igarashi is begging Izuji to spare him and apologizes for aiming at Izuji earlier. Izuji stops at his tracks, thinking his next steps that if he tags Igarashi, he can win, but it will end Igarashi's career. He struggles to make a decision but decides that if he doesn't do it, he will lose. As for him to accomplish his dreams, he needs to destroy the dream of other. Izuji is planning to kick the ball towards Igarashi. 15 seconds left. Izuji stops and decides to attack those higher than him. After the decision of sparing Igarashi, Izuji decides to attack others, but Meguro, rank 290, steals the ball from him. 10 seconds left. He decides to go for Kira. 8 seconds left. Kira managed to dodge the attack. 7 seconds left. Meguro tries to attack Kira with his leg but also dodges it. 5 seconds left. Kira runs away and Meguro hits the ball towards Kira's direction. 4 seconds left. The ball is coming towards Izuji's direction. 3 seconds left. While concentrating the ball, he kicks the ball and it hit Kira's face. The timer reaches 0, making Kira